Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to format files to get them into Animate. So I'm going to hit Shift and O on the keyboard. And what that does is selects the artboard tool. Shift O is in Oliver. And it brings up this box around your artwork, which you could physically make bigger, smaller by just grabbing the handles. But we want to make the document the size of our Animate stage. So let's double click. And then when you double click on the tool, on the artboard tool, you get this panel that comes up and it gives you options. Now there's presets. If you go to preset and you drag down, everything's in groups. So these are print groups for like letter size, legal, tabloid. These are phone and Apple Watch and things like that. And then down this next group down is old school video sizes. So that's what we're gonna go with, 640 by 480 VGA. We're gonna keep it small, not tax our processors too much. So let's click 640 by 480, which is the size of your stage, and Animate, hit OK. So there we go. That's the size of our stage. I'm going to click the black arrow for the selection tool, V on your keyboard, and you can move this around and fit it in here however you like. Okay, so that's perfect. Now, one thing I want you to make sure of, and that is that as I pull my cursor over here, I can see there's nothing in the sky. This is empty. So when I bring it into Illustrator, this area will be transparent. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to just make a new folder and call it Vectors and hit Create. And this is House AI, Adobe Illustrator AI. Perfect. I'm going to hit Save. And I'm going to hit OK. All right. And then we will go over to Animate, which hopefully I still have open. I do, but it's not coming out for some reason. Come on, Animate. There it is. All right, I'm just say File, New. Standard is 640 by 480. Make sure it's at Action Script. Hit Create. And then I'm going to say File, Import, Import to Library. And I will go to my desktop, Vectors folder, and I'll click on the house. I'll hit Open. And it's thinking. There we go. I'm going to hit Import. Now, here's our house AI. When you click on it, you see everything. You can click on here and get layers if there's layers in your object. But I just want this whole vector. I'm going to plop it right on there and pull it down. So right now it's only taking up one frame, so that's 1/30th of a second. So I'm going to control click farther down, insert frame, so that it's on our screen for the 2 seconds. All right, let me switch back over to Illustrator. All right, so I'm going to go back in my folder of vectors I have. I'm going to open up this sky. I don't know what size it is, so Shift O will give you the artboard tool, and I'll double click it. And again, where it says custom, I will drag down to 640 by 480. Hit Okay, so that is the actual size of my stage. I think I'm going to move this a little. Now I could make this fit perfectly, but I think it might be cool if it rotates just a little bit. So I'm going to leave it bigger than the actual document size. File, save as. I am going to save it into my vectors file, save. Okay. And let us go back to Animate. And I'm going to make a new layer for it. But it's always good to keep track of your layers. So I am going to make sure I name them appropriately as well. So I can turn the little eyeball off. I can see this is my house layer. So I'm going to name it house. And this will be my sky layer. So I'll name it sky. And I'll lock my house layer so I don't accidentally grab it. File, import, import to library, sky, open, import, and here it will be, here it is, and I will drop it on the stage. Now despite the fact that we had made the document the stage size, it doesn't cut it down to that, so it retains the size it is outside of the document. It's also covering up our house, which is a problem, but we can easily remedy that by dragging our house to the top or the sky to the bottom. I would like this to rotate a little, so I'm going to control click and say create motion tween on my sky layer. And again, you can see that it has the little diamonds where this has the page. I'll move my playback head down here. I'll hit Q to grab my free transform tool. I'm going to hit Command minus to zoom out just a little so I can see to rotate it. Now I don't really want, there we go, I want to keep that up there. All right, let's see what we got. All right, so the rays are kind of moving around. It's very, very lovely. So now let's go back over to Illustrator. All right. And I will open another document. I think I'll grab this little sun and change again the document to 640 by 480. And I'm just going to move around to make sure there's nothing else on the background. So I will save this file, save as. Into my vectors folder, Adobe Illustrator, save. Okay. And let us go back to Animate. And we'll import that sun. File import, import to library. And again, there we go, I need a layer for it. So I'm going to hit the plus down here for new layer. I'll name it sun so I know what it is. And there we go, that looks pretty good. I'm going to create a motion tween. I'll click down here on my timeline and go to my properties. And I am going to put 0.5 for a rotation. Nope, it won't let me. Guess I got to put 1. Okay, command return. Whoa! My sun has gone nuts. I think I got to remove that. That's too crazy. So I'm going to hit Command Z. Maybe we'll just leave the sun hanging out being mellow. All right, now back to Illustrator. Now, of course, you could do this all at once, but I'm just showing you how it all goes in. I have another file here. And this is an EPS. Let me double click and make it 640 by 480 by using the, oops, uh-oh, I went the wrong way. 640 by 480, make sure your orientation is horizontal. Hit OK, that's better. So I was using the artboard tool. Now I can kind of see the size. Now, one thing if you're downloading vectors for this is you want to take a look at everything you have. I don't need this background, so I'm going to unlock it and delete it. Now there's still clouds. Maybe I could use those later. I could put those in another document if I wanted. But I'm getting rid of all the stuff I don't want. I think I'm just going to keep the blimp here. And I'll delete that extra layer. I don't need it. There's nothing in it. So now I have just one layer with the blimp in it. And I'm going to say File, Save As. And it was an EPS, so I'm going to change it to AI. And save it in my vector folder. I'm going to give it a more descriptive name than all the numbers on it. And hit Save. So you can resize things, break them apart, the vectors, get them all ready, and put them in your Animate and have them ready to go. So I'm going to hit Stop Share and share Animate now. There we go. And File, Import to Library. I'm going to grab the blimp, import it. Let me go to my library over here and let me make a layer for my blimp. Or dirigible, if you want to call it a dirigible, that's fine. I shall drop it on the stage. Control click, create motion, tween. And then I'll have them, there we go. So now, woo! So it's all set up for whatever kind of adventure you would want to have. I could say, let me add a layer. I could add my red dot now. Maybe create motion. Maybe he's coming home. Now he probably should get smaller as he gets closer to the door of the house. So there we go. Whoop. Well, that's a little small. But you get the idea. I can go back and fix him. That's overkill. My poor little dot. And that's not quite enough. So, you know, maybe he's coming home from a long day at work, or he's otherwise going to engage in some kind of adventure. What you should do now, definitely, is File, Save As. Now, if you don't have the advanced look for your save box, you just hit this, and there we go. Now I can navigate better. I'm going to save it in here. And then I'm going to hit Command Return. So there are two things here, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but here .fla is your flash animation. I'm not sure why it made a recover file. That's if it crashes, which is, it didn't seem to. But FLA is the actual flash file, and then SWF is the standalone file. It's the kind of file you see on the internet. When Flash is used for animation often. Okay, so hopefully this will help you set up files and have them looking good.